So today we're going to be talking about the Chartered Private Risk and Insurance Advisor certification program that Private Risk Management Association developed in conjunction with St. John's University School of Professional Development. And this is an educational curriculum program that we really started planning in 2014 based on a survey that we did of our members in terms of what they were looking for from an educational perspective. And we are working, again, as I mentioned, with St. John's University and also our learning vendor, which is New Level Partners. So it's a program that we started and fully launched the first segment in May of 2015. Our vision when we put together this certification was to really get access to some of the industry's top experts to extract information out of their brain after all of their successful years of business in the high net worth specialty, and then to create a program for our members that was flexible, accessible, and I guess I would say affordable. So when we put together this program, we got industry experts, so it's built by and for high net worth specialists. And we've created it in a way that allows as many people as possible to participate, really at their own pace to some extent, and be able to access it without worrying about travel and entertainment. So those were really our guiding principles as we went into the development of this program. Our target audience, based on member feedback, is really professionals who are specializing in this specialty of risk management for affluent and high net worth individuals. It is recommended that the participant has some experience in personal insurance. It's certainly desirable, and certainly at least 3 years of insurance expertise. So we have people participating in this program right now who have upwards of 25 years of experience. And then we have some people, as it shows here on the slide, that are 3 to 5 years into this specialty and really want to learn more about it and improve their craft. So we really recommend the program for somebody who has a minimum of 3 years of insurance experience and certainly has some personal insurance experience. That is our target audience. Our CPRIA program, so the Chartered Private Risk and Advisor program, consists of 2 levels. Level 1, and that's the program that we've been talking about for the past 2 years. That's the program that is currently in development and the program that will continue to offer courses starting again in January of 2017. We consider that level 1. It's 6 segments of content where we have different components, case studies, access to industry experts, etc. We will develop a level 2, what we consider more of a master's program, which we will likely launch, I would say, in 2018. We really want to step back and absorb what's going on here in segment in level 1, get some feedback from our participants, and then begin to look at what the development of level 2 looks like. We envision that it will be something that somebody would apply for. They would have had to have completed level 1, and it will be some type of a research project, a little bit of a type of a thesis theme, where our members will be able to work on topics that help make the collective membership smarter about relevant topics within the high net worth space. So the basis of our conversation today will really be on this level 1 6-segment certification. When we put together this program in conjunction with New Level Partners, our learning vendor, we really wanted to make sure that we had a blended approach of remote learning, so there is no need to travel to a destination. There's no T&E. There's technically no time out of the office. We wanted it to be flexible, right, so that people could do this during their work hour, during lunch, at home, on vacation, whatever the case may be. So we have put together fully narrated, interactive, self-paced e-learning modules. And while it is self-paced, I do want to point out that there is a distinct start and finish to each course. So a course starts on a certain date, and you have to finish your final assessment by the end of the final assessment window. So flexible, but not totally flexible in that you can't take 12 months to finish a course. And typically our courses are lasting between 3.5 and 4 months long. I mentioned that there's access to subject matter experts, so we do live learning sessions, webinars. There's typically 2 webinars per segment that allow us to hear from subject matter experts who are practicing in the high net worth space and have some great experiences to share. We also put together case study assignments. So there are assignments that'll give you the ability to take those e-learning modules and put into practice some of the things that you've learned through your self-study practices. And then we touch upon those client case studies in one of the live learning sessions. We estimate that the learning commitment, or how long will it take you to go through one of these segments, it's really about 8 hours per segment. I think some people, maybe based upon their years of experience, can get through it in 6 hours. And then there's some people who are just extremely passionate and go above and beyond in terms of some of the optional reading or some of the research information that we have available. And their time spent per segment is somewhere, 8 to 9 hours. But that'll give you a little bit of an idea of what your commitment would be should you embark upon signing up for one of the 6 segments that are available. We asked our participants, what do you think about the benefits of doing this? And what we keep hearing is that they love the access to the information and the industry experts who are actually doing the same thing that they're doing. So they're actually gaining valuable insights from people who are out there working with referral sources, working with high net worth individuals with complex lifestyles. And that ability to gain that knowledge and best practices has been very, very beneficial. And then on top of it, when you complete all 6 segments, you receive a professional certification that can differentiate you in the high net worth personal risk management community. So it's a way to have access to information, network with people, and then have a certification that differentiates yourself from others. We do survey our participants on a very regular basis, and we're really proud to say that 96% would recommend this coursework to a colleague or a friend. And we're really proud of the fact that, again, given that our participants range from 25 plus years in the industry to 3 to 5, that the majority, 96%, would recommend this, means that we're on the right track to providing a fulfilling learning experience. And of course, we're constantly tweaking and taking in feedback from everybody. You'll see here that there's a number of reasons why people decided to enroll in the course. The majority is because it was a program that was specific to this area of specialty. So it wasn't a generic insurance certification, but it was specific to the high net worth, all the way through people having personal developmental goals. And we've heard a lot around it being really nice because it's flexible for people. And again, they don't have to travel to a specific location and incur time out of the office or any additional expenses. I wanted to give you guys a little bit of a snapshot of how CPRIA has been evolving since we launched segment number 1 in May of 2015. So in May of 2015, we had just around 245 enrolled and slightly less than that completed. And you'll see here as we go through segment 1 through 6, and I'll actually explain what those numbers mean in just a couple of moments, but you'll see that our attendance has been increasing at every moment. And right now we have individuals enrolled in segment 6, the final segment in the series, and we're up to 360 participants. And again, by word of mouth, by people sharing the experiences they've had since they joined in segment 1, we've seen a lot of interest and a lot of increased participation in this segment. And you also see the number of people who are actually completing the coursework goes up. Now you might ask, well, why wouldn't somebody complete the coursework? And I think it's the simple answer to that, it's life, right? We all have competing demands in our jobs, in our personal and professional lives. And for whatever circumstances have come up, we've had a number of people just find that it wasn't the right time for them to embark on this journey, and they will pick it up at a later date. But we're really proud of the fact that we're up to 360 people enrolled in the current segment 6 that's going on right now. So let's take a couple of minutes and talk a little bit about these 6 segments. So you can think of a segment as a course. You might ask, well, then why'd you call it a segment? And to be quite candid, I'm really not sure. But we call them segments, and it feels good to us. But we've got 6 segments here that begin at fundamentals of personal risk management. So by the word fundamentals, this would be a more basic understanding of a disciplined risk management process. And then it goes all the way down through segment 6, which is personal security, life safety, and protection. And I'm going to run us through a couple of slides that have a lot of words on the slide. And this isn't meant to be intimidating, and it's also not meant to overwhelm you just with a bunch of information. But we thought it was important to give you just a little bit of a taste of what you would be getting access to as you go through these segments. So segment number 1, fundamentals of personal risk management. As I mentioned, it really takes people through all of the steps and disciplines that you would normally see a commercial risk manager embark upon if they were putting together a strategy for their own business. And we really feel that a high net worth individual's complex lifestyle is worthy of that same type of discipline. So we've got 2 online learning courses. One takes you through the fundamentals. And then we've got an online learning course around understanding underwriting principles and pricing. So as we begin to talk to our high net worth clients, it's really important that we understand how a carrier thinks about rate, how a carrier looks at appetite, how are things priced, so that we can explain to our clients what's going on. We've got 2 live learning sessions. One is around trends in underwriting and analytics, and we do also have a case study. And we've got some required reading assignments, risk management, why and how, and then a couple of optional reading assignments. So this is really sort of a foundational segment that we begin with. When we move into segment number 2, called Understanding the High Net Worth Universe, this is really about getting you an in-depth view about the size, the definition, and scope of the high net worth population, not only in the U.S., but globally. So we have some required reading assignments around the United States World Wealth Report. And then we also really spend time in this segment talking about high net worth individuals. What are they looking for in a professional advisor? What do you need to do and to display when working with a high net worth client for them to see you as a trusted advisor in the same way that they would see their trust and estate attorney or their wealth manager? So this segment is really around understanding that high net worth universe and what high net worth people are looking for as it relates to working with all of you. We get into segment number 3. We call it strategic coverage placement. This really starts to get into more of the technical aspect of insurance. But we do begin by spending time on evaluating that client fit, right? What do you need to consider as you determine whether a client is a good fit for you and the firm that you work for? What do you need to consider as you look at that insurer or provider marketplace? Who's going to be the right fit for your client? And then we get into some advanced coverage. So you'll see here we have 2 online learning courses, Advanced Coverage Review 1 and 2. This is where we get into a conversation around what are the differentiating coverages that you need to be aware of and fluent as it relates to working with high net worth individuals. Now, what we don't do is we don't get into contract comparisons. We're not going to be talking about typical homeowners endorsements. We very much feel that whoever's taking this course will have that basic understanding. But this is really around what are those bells and whistles, or what are those unique risk exposures that high net worth individuals have that you need to make sure that you're fluent in as it relates to providing an insurance and or risk mitigation solution to your client. And then we've got a couple of live learning sessions here on proposals and recommendations. How do you have that proper conversation with your client, and what should it include? Segment number 4, life cycle risk management. You know, when we started the development of this segment, we thought about, well, you got your client, and now how do you make sure that your client is able to take advantage of all of the services that you provide, all of the services that the carriers that you might be working with on your client's account provide, and then how do you make sure that that risk management program stays up to date? So we call it life cycle risk management because we believe this is a fluid, ongoing conversation that you will have with your client based upon your understanding of goals and objectives that you guys work on together. So we do have 3 online learning courses that range from client onboarding all the way through claims and E&Os, right? The things that you want to make sure that you're managing appropriately so that you have good client satisfaction and loyalty. We do have a live learning session on how to foster a wow customer experience as it relates to claims, as well as how do you make sure that you're building strong relationships not only with your client, but also with the referral partners that you may be doing business with. So life cycle risk management is about keeping it all going and retaining those valuable clients. Introduction of specialty coverage. So this is where we say, oftentimes as your client's wealth increases, as your client becomes more mature, they are going to venture into lots of different things, whether it's fine art and collectibles, cars, yachts, aviation, farm and ranch, or some of those exposures where you're not really sure if it's personal or commercial because things are intertwined so very tightly. So we put together Introduction to Specialty Coverage to give you some insights into some of the things that I've just talked about, which includes individual D&O and trustee liability insurance, but also to help you understand what are the key things you might need to know as you begin to identify specialty partners that you want to work with. In reality, it'd be pretty hard to be a yacht specialist if you only had 1 or 2 clients that had a luxury yacht. You'd really want to be working with a luxury yacht specialist to help you provide the right advice and recommendations to your client. So here we give you an introduction to this specialty coverage. And then the last segment that we have is called Personal Security, Life Safety, and Protection. And this is actually a segment where we just launched and closed registration. Well, we launched registration November 1, and we've got 360 people participating in Personal Security, Life Safety, and Protection. And as again, we looked at this curriculum, by and large, we're property and casualty focused individuals on the carrier and broker agent side. But we know that our clients at times will have personal security concerns, whether it's home security, whether it's cybersecurity, whether there's a crisis management need and possibly the need for kidnap and ransom insurance. We do believe that medical care management is something that our high net worth clients are very concerned about. So it could be concierge advisory that we talk about. So we've put together these online learning courses. There's actually 5 of them that give you some insight into other things that, while you might not provide, right, estate planning or life insurance and long-term care, it is a critical and important component of your client's overall personal risk management strategy. So we wanted you guys to have access to experts and information that give you the ability to talk to your clients about things that are important and that matter to them. So that's why we've put together these online learning courses and these live learning sessions. So as you can see here, the trend is that there's a series of online learning courses that literally you take at your leisure. There is the need to participate in 2 live learning sessions per segment. And then there's typically a case study assignment that you do as well on your own time, and then submit that assignment. And then there is a final assessment, right? So you go through all this work, we open up a final assessment. It's usually open for about 30 days, and you need to go online and take the final test and get a passing grade of 70% or higher in order to achieve a certificate for that specific segment. Once you get a certificate for all 6 segments, then you get your final certificate of graduation for the Chartered Private Risk and Insurance Advisor certificate. I talk about segments 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Based on how we've numbered them, based on how we talk about them, many think, well, I must have to take them in order, and that would be a logical thing to think. But you don't have to take them in order. You'll see when I showed you the graph here on how we are up to 360 people, and when we started we had about 245, I think it was. People have been joining as the segments go along. So you don't have to take the courses in order. We offer them in order because that's just how we develop them. And you might take segment 1 and then need to take a break and not take segment 2, and you'll take segment 3. So the only caveat is you can only take a course when it's offered, which kind of makes logical sense. You don't have to take them in order. And when you get all 6 certificates of completion, then you get to be a Chartered Private Risk and Insurance Advisor. And based upon our rollout, we will have our first graduating class in February of 2017. So that's the current segment 6 group that's in session right now. They will do their final assessment at the end of January into February, and we'll have a number of people. I think we're estimating somewhere around 155, 160 people who will achieve the designation at that time. So let me just pause here for a minute and talk a little bit about continuing education credits. It's a question that comes up very often, and we have not to date offered continuing education credits for this curriculum in a very set and disciplined way. And that was really by design. Our members, when surveyed, said it would be great to have CE, but it certainly wasn't a priority. When we put together the guiding principles for this curriculum, we as a committee were committed to not sacrificing the learning experience for CE. So I don't know if any of you have had to work with any state institutions on CE, but it's really an interesting process. Some go by word count. There's a whole bunch of different criteria. So what we did is we developed the curriculum. We did do CE credits for a small, I think 4 states for segment 3, and we found that developing, rolling out, and CE at the same time really was not doable. So we kind of hit the pause button. But we are currently right now working on getting CE credits for all segments, which will start with segment 1 in January of 2017. We've picked 20 priority states. So these are 20 states where the majority of our membership who is taking CPRIA is from, or a majority of our membership is from. So these are the 20 states that we're focused on right now. There's non-monitor states and monitor states. And getting CE approval for online learning is much more difficult, much more, I guess I would just say trickier than getting CE approval to have you guys come and sit in a seminar, do a sign-in and sign-out sheet, and go on your merry way. So some states require monitors. As an example, the state of New York, you actually have to have an approved monitor. In Florida, I believe you just have to have or in other states, you just have to have a disinterested party certify that you don't have your book open while you take the test. So as we begin to more formally put out details around CE credit, we'll provide information as it relates to non-monitor and monitor states. But you'll see right now that we do have approval for Florida, North Carolina, Virginia, Colorado, Arizona, Connecticut, South Carolina, Texas, and Pennsylvania. And those are all approved right now for segment 1 for 8 CE credits. And if somebody wants CE credits, there's an additional charge, which we're targeting at about $30 per segment. And that's basically just to cover the cost that our CE vendor charges to file with the state and then provide you with proof of completion. So we're just looking to cover our costs on that. And as more states get approved, we'll have those available. But that's the status on the CE, and we're really proud of how far we've gotten as it relates to getting these things approved. So last thing I want to cover off on before I open it up to questions is what does this cost? So right now, CPRIA is available to members only. So you have to be a PRMA member in order to participate in this curriculum. And the reason we do that is PRMA has made a significant investment in the development of this curriculum. That's been funded by our education sponsors, Pure and Chubb, and it's been funded by all of our membership dues. So without those sponsorships and our annual membership dues, we would never have been able to put together this unique and wonderful curriculum. So you've got to be a member to be able to take advantage of it. And when we looked at, what do we charge, we really tried to charge a fee that was wildly affordable, a fee that allowed for firms to have as many people as possible participate, yet have a fee that would allow us to help cover the costs of development, and then to help cover the costs of the day-to-day administrative efforts of putting this program together and working with our learning vendor. So we've got our rates it's really $295 per segment. Right, so at $295 per segment, you can get a CPRIA certification for $1,770 with no travel and entertainment or additional costs, but for the fact that you might want CE for a couple of segments. And we really think that that's fantastic. We also try to, think of ways to further help people manage their budgets. So we typically offer a 2-segment bundle, right? So instead of $295 times 2, it's $499. So you'll see that drop from $1,770 down to just under $1,500, which again we think is really a terrific offering, and really speaks to the power of the association and membership being able to fund this to make this affordable to individual members. I would tell you that at the corporate and enterprise level, if a firm has 5 or more people that they want to enroll, and we do have some firms that have upwards of 50 people participating in the CPRIA. At different tiers, we discount. We discount by 20% or 30% or 35%. So I would say that if you or your firm is thinking of enrolling 5 or more people, shoot me an email and let's talk about what some of those discounts might look like, so that we can put together a plan and a strategy. So again, the course fees are very, very competitive to our membership, and I think that speaks to why we've got 360 people who are currently participating in this curriculum. So last slide that I have here to show you guys, I think this is a good slide because it gives you a sense of, what are we really talking about. So segment 1, which is the fundamentals of personal risk management, we're going to open enrollment. And open enrollment means that there's this little window between January 9th and January 23rd that we ask people to register. So it's kind of like going to taking a class at your university. There's a certain period of time that you have to register. And the reason we have these registration windows is because if we didn't have a window, people would just keep trickling in, and it would be impossible to keep the classes on schedule and coordinate these live webinars that we have. So we send out all of our members a notice, and the enrollment period for segment 1 is January 9th through January 23rd. The official start date is January 23rd because that's when we close enrollment. Having said that, if somebody registers on January 15th, typically within 24 hours, they've got access to the course material and they get a jump start. And then that course will go from January 23rd all the way through April 11th, right? So if you kind of think of what's the window for segment 1, it's January 23rd to April 11th. The final assessment, meaning the window of time that you'll be able to go in and take your final assessment, will be March 21st through April 11th. If you don't complete the coursework, including the final assessment by April 11th, you're not going to get credit for the course, right? And you do have to pass with a 70 or better. You're not going to get credit for the course, and you'll have to wait till it's offered again and re-register in order to go back and have an opportunity to get credit for segment 1. Okay, so I just want to make sure that I'm kind of as clear as possible. So it's a go at your own pace, but go at your own pace between open enrollment, the start date, and the end date of April 11th. And I think there was a little bit of confusion when we first rolled these things out. So you kind of look at the schedule and you go, you know what? My work life, my personal life, allows me to embark upon this journey. You can sign up for segment 1 on January 9th and then proceed to sign up through all the other segments. And then you would, in essence, be done with segment 6 by May 18th of 2018 and have your CPRIA certification. Again, they don't have to be taken in order. You could start segment 1 and 2, and perhaps you've got something going on in segment 3 and it's not realistic for you to think you can embark upon this coursework in the summer. You might skip segment 3 and then pick up at segment 4, and then you'll get segment 3 when it's offered again. I will tell you that right now we're only offering 1 segment at a time. Some of that has to do with the fact that we're coordinating subject matter experts, live learnings, and it's really just difficult with all of the other things that we have going on to think about doing segments, multiple segments at a time, but we may evolve to that sometime in the future. So with that, I would love to just simply pause here and ask you guys if you have questions. There is a question window that you'll see in your navigation in your GoToWebinar panel. And if any of you have any questions at all, please feel free to type a question in the question panel, and I would be more than happy to answer your questions. And of course, if you think of a question after we hang up here, feel free to reach out to me. There's my email address, llindsay@privateriskmanagement.org. We also have a lot of information that's out on our website, privateriskmanagement.org, under the Education tab, and you'll see CPRIA. We've got a little video and all sorts of things. So that's pretty much the CPRIA overview. And again, if you have a question, feel free to type it here in the question window. I'd be happy to answer any questions that you have, and hopefully I thought of most of the questions that you would have had and covered those throughout the presentation. So I'll just give it another minute here in case anybody has any questions. All right, well, I'm going to give myself an A+ then for providing this overview question-free. And again, if you have any questions or want to have a one-on-one conversation about CPRIA, or would like me to present any of this information to anyone else in your firm, feel free to shoot me an email. I'd be happy to chat further with all of you. We're really, really proud of our CPRIA program that we're doing in conjunction with St. John's University School of Risk Management Center for Professional Development. And thanks so much for your time today, guys, and have a wonderful holiday if we don't speak before then. Thanks.